The call came in the middle of a bright, ordinary afternoon, the kind of day that pretends nothing bad can happen. Sunlight spilled through office windows, traffic hummed, and somewhere far away a young woman pressed her phone to her cheek as tears slid down her face. She told her father her back hurt so badly she could barely breathe through it. She said it felt wrong in a way Payne never had before. What neither of them knew yet was that the truth had already arrived at her door, padding quietly across the floor on 4 paws, waiting for the moment to be seen. If stories about second chances, unseen heroes, and love that refuses to give up mean something to you, please like this video, share it, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel Kindora Life. Your support helps these stories reach hearts that need them. Ira Kadeem had always been the reliable one. At 26, she lived alone in a sunlit apartment on the edge of the city, worked long hours as a junior architect, and carried the unspoken belief that she could outwork any problem. Her days were filled with blueprints and site visits, her weekends with early morning walks and late afternoon coffee brewed too strong. She loved daytime because it made everything feel manageable, as if shadows could not exist under such honest light. When the pain started, she told herself it was nothing more than tired muscles and bad posture, the kind of discomfort that comes from leaning over drafting tables too long. She stretched, she iced, she swallowed patience and went back to work. But pain has a way of insisting. It crept from a dull ache to a constant pressure that made sitting unbearable and standing worse. Sunlit mornings became something she endured rather than enjoyed. On one particularly clear day, as birds hopped along the balcony rail and the city glowed, Ira found herself bent over the kitchen counter, breathing shallowly, the room blurring at the edges. She called her father because that was what she did when the world tipped. She cried not because she wanted to be dramatic, but because fear had finally broken through her discipline. She told him her back hurt and she did not know why, and she needed him to know how scared she was. Her father, Rahim Kadeem, had raised her alone since she was 12, after loss taught him how fragile ordinary afternoons could be. He listened, anchored by years of steady hands and gentler wisdom. He told her to come home for the day, to let him see her in the light. Rahim lived in a modest house with a garden that bloomed without asking permission, and with him lived Orion, a rescue dog he had adopted 3 years earlier. Orion was a large, calm mix with a silvered muzzle and eyes that missed nothing. He had been trained as a therapy dog after being found abandoned, his past unknown, his present devoted. Ira arrived just before noon. The house smelled of soap and citrus, the windows thrown open to let the day in. She tried to stand tall, to make her pain small. Rahim watched the way she moved, the careful steps, the tightness around her eyes. Orion approached her slowly, tail low, nose working. He circled her once, then twice, and stopped at her side. Something in him shifted. He pressed his nose to her lower back and whined softly, a sound Rahim had only heard when Orion sensed distress in others. The dog refused to leave her side, following her from room to room, nudging her gently whenever she tried to sit or bend. At first, it felt comforting, a quiet presence insisting she rest. Then it became unsettling. Orion would not settle. He pawed at Rahim's leg, paced, and returned to Ira, nose hovering, ears alert. The dog's behavior cut through Rahim's calm like a blade of light. He had learned to trust Orion's instincts. They had been honed in hospitals and care centers, responding to changes humans missed. Rahim did not accuse or panic. He made tea, guided Ira to the couch, and watched. In the honest glow of midday, Orion lay with his head pressed to Ira's hip, breathing in rhythm with her, eyes open. Ira tried to sleep, but the pain flared when she shifted. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the soft scrape of leaves outside. Rahim noticed how Orion's breathing changed, how he lifted his head whenever Ira's breath shortened. The truth did not arrive as a sudden revelation, it gathered, piece by piece, in the way daylight reveals dust in the air. Rahim made a decision. He did not wait for the pain to pass. He did not suggest rest and hope. He called a clinic and drove her himself, Orion riding in the back, alert and steady. The waiting room was bright and clean, posters of smiling families lining the walls. Daytime television murmured without conviction. Ira felt foolish for being there, embarrassed by her tears and the way Orion leaned against her legs as if bracing her. Tests were ordered. Time stretched. Rahim held her hand and talked about small things, about the tomatoes ripening in the garden, about how Orion had learned to sit on command in exactly one afternoon. The dog watched the doors, ears flicking, never fully relaxing. When the doctor returned, the room seemed to tilt again, but this time the light did not fade. The truth was not easy, but it was clear. Ira's pain was not from strain or posture, it was from something growing where it should not be, pressing against nerves, demanding attention. It had been caught early enough to treat, early enough to change the story. The words landed with weight and relief braided together. Fear surged, then steadied. The path ahead was suddenly defined by action instead of uncertainty. In the days that followed, daytime became a measure of progress. Mornings brought appointments and plans, afternoons brought rest and sunlight through curtains, evenings brought the quiet courage of recovery. Ira moved back home temporarily, letting herself be cared for without apology. Orion became her shadow, alerting Rahim whenever her discomfort spiked, insisting she pause when she tried to do too much. The dog's presence was not dramatic, it was faithful. He lay beside her during physical therapy exercises, his warm weight a reminder that she was not alone in this fight. There were hard moments. Pain did not vanish because it had been named. Fear visited without knocking, but hope grew, fed by routine and care. Ira learned to listen to her body instead of arguing with it. She learned that strength could look like asking for help in the full light of day. Rahim learned, again, that love sometimes arrives disguised as vigilance. The garden bloomed, the house filled with laughter again, tentative at first, then freer. As treatment progressed, the doctors spoke of margins and timelines, of outcomes that leaned toward the good. Ira's back slowly loosened its grip. She took careful walks with Orion in the mornings, the sun warming their faces, the city waking around them. She noticed details she had missed before, the way light caught on leaves, the way people smiled without knowing why. The ordinary returned, but it was different now, brighter, edged with gratitude. Months later, on another clear afternoon, Ira stood in her old apartment, sunlight spilling across the floor. She had returned to work part-time, her desk adjusted, her pace kinder. Orion visited often, still attentive, still devoted. Ira knelt to hug him, feeling the steady strength of his body, the quiet intelligence behind his eyes. The truth he had revealed had not only saved her health, it had changed how she lived. She no longer ignored whispers until they screamed. She paid attention. She trusted the subtle. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminded you that help can come from unexpected places and that listening can change everything, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Kindora Life. Your engagement tells us these stories matter. Before we end, please write a comment below and tell us what Orion's quiet courage meant to you, or share a moment when paying attention changed your life. Ira's life did not become perfect. It became real. It became deliberate. On bright days, she walked with gratitude. On hard days, she rested without shame. And always, somewhere nearby, a dog lay watchful in the daylight, having already done what heroes do best, seeing the truth when it mattered most.